Welcome to Afl Access. My name is Joel, and today I'll be kicking off the 2019 season reviews, where Justin, Ryan, and I will look at what went right, what went wrong, and just in general, what happened for all 18 teams across the 2019 season. Today, I feel we should start from the very bottom, so I will be reviewing the Gold Coast Suns 2019 season. This season, like a lot of seasons beforehand for the Gold Coast Suns, looked very promising at the start of the year and then just completely capitulated by the end of the season, leaving them lowly in the doldrums of the AFL's basement. But this year, they won the wooden spoon outright with only 3 wins and 19 losses, and depressingly enough, an 18-match losing streak. At one stage, they were 3-1. That being said, most of their victories were by under a goal, so they could have just as easily been 0-4. Their first loss to St Kilda in round 1 was by only a single point, and they played really hard. They're young and hungry and want to win, but unfortunately they just couldn't come up with the chocolates. They managed to win 3 straight before getting their asses absolutely handed to them by the Crows in round 5. And that kind of just set off a chain of events where they would lose, again, 18 straight. Even during their 18-game losing streak, they still managed to compete. Well, some of the times, they managed to compete at various stages of the year. Only three of their losses were only under 2 goals. Sure, the rest were total drubbings and completely one-sided, but, there was some form there. It wasn't just a complete drop-off across all 18 weeks. But one thing you are seeing now is that a lot of players are signing for the Gold Coast Suns, especially a lot of their young, promising players, so they're staying up there for a couple of years longer as to create some coherency and consistency in the lineup, so they'll be able to compete and develop more frequently. Players like Isaac Rankin, Peter Wright, Ben Ainsworth, Darcy McPherson, and a couple others I forgot. They have all extended contracts through to about 2022, so they're going to stay in the Gold Coast for another couple seasons. And hopefully they'll be able to develop a culture, a style of game, preferably a high-pressure style, because I've already come up with a great nickname for the team if they ever do that, and that would be obviously the Black Hole Suns. Good. Sam Collins, for the time he played, seemed to be an experienced hand down back that could definitely help out the younger defenders without leaving them completely out to dry. Even though he hasn't played as much, Chris Burgess looks to be pretty good, or a decent forward option, or a good half-forward option for the Suns, who are kind of lacking in that area. I feel some players have flown under the radar with regards to the Gold Coast, especially players like Alex Sexton, who is their leading goal kicker with 39 goals in total, which he's been a pretty good medium to small forward option, which I mentioned in the mid-season reviews. And again, I still reiterate, if there was a second tier All-Australian team, I think he would be firmly entrenched in that, because he's been a really good attacking option forward, or the only attacking option forward. And even though Peter Wright got dropped for a couple games down the stretch, I still think he is a fantastic option up forward. Same with returning Sam Day, who came back from multiple injuries and scored 11 goals in about 7 or 8 games. So he'll be a useful hand going into the pre-season. Both Ben King and Jack Lukosius have also looked pretty solid in their debut seasons. Ben King even winning a nomination for the Rising Star with a 4-goal performance a couple weeks back. And Jack Lukosius, even though he did not get a nomination, has looked really solid down back. He still needs to work on the Kings, and even though many people think he should be playing forward, I think just giving him some versatility would be very helpful for the Suns, especially in where they're lacking. One stat that's kind of flown under the radar is that Jared Witts, who honestly is been the Suns' best player, broke the hit-out record, beating out Todd Goldstein and Max Gorn's records from a couple of years ago. So that's pretty impressive, and one thing that doesn't really get brought up a lot by the media, mostly because it's Gold Coast and everyone just expects them to be bad. But then again, you do have Jared Witts, who, like I said, head and shoulders, literally and figuratively, the best player on the team. Players like David Swallow, Braden Fiorini, Darcy McPherson, and Lockie Weller have also looked very strong this year. Even though their midfield is quite weak and probably needs one more veteran leader alongside some really good run on the outside, they've looked pretty serviceable. Darcy McPherson playing the high half forward / midfielder role has really who can go down the ground and score goals, has really helped the Suns this year, who have really struggled to score many points throughout the season, which is always kind of a sign of a very young team with developing forwards, who I think, give it a couple of years, will be very dangerous. Now, they just need to work on the entry into the forward 50. And that kind of just brings me to the bad of the Suns, which has been so vast it's not even funny. So yeah, like I mentioned, the entry into the forward 50 for the Suns has been diabolically bad. Adelaide has the same kind of problem, and getting ahead of myself, Adelaide's, at least with Gold Coast, you can say they have very young, underdeveloped players, while the Crows have experienced-ish veterans, and that's a huge concern. Anyway, I'm getting off topic. Point is, their entry into the forward 50 is seriously lacking, and it's not helping their forwards reap the rewards of what is a lot of effort. I think just in general, also a lack of quality veteran leadership for the Suns to take from their crosstown rival Brisbane. They brought in Luke Hodge to help motivate a lot of the younger kids and give them a veteran to rally around so they can gain experience from them. However, they lack that. And I would argue that the players they've surrounded their youth with are pretty bad. In case in point, Anthony Miles, who I think shouldn't be playing football. Shouldn't be playing AFL football. Can't kick a goal on a 25 meters out on a slight angle. Gets suspended for headshotting Riley Knight, even in a game which is a total blowout. There's no point trying to headhunt someone in a total blowout. And he just, whenever I see him play, he just makes the worst decisions and puts his own players under the pump and just does not provide any reward for these young players. Also, the defense can kind of get absolutely hided from time to time, which happens a lot with young defenses. And I think there's some real talent down there. But again, it just gets absolutely overrun with the midfield unable to get the ball back, and the forward lines also suffers with the midfield's inability to win ball and use it effectively. Like I said, a lot of the veteran leadership to help support the young guys hasn't worked. And honestly, I feel like they should just go to the trade block and try and get veteran leadership to help them out and create some structure, especially in the forward line, to nurture forwards like Peter Wright, Ben King, and if they decide to chuck him forward, Jack Lukosius. Isaac Rankin hasn't even played a game for them, which also brings up a huge issue that I feel is not really acknowledged by the wider media, but as of writing and recording this, they have 11 players with season-ending injuries. Now, that is catastrophic. Some teams don't really have an excuse to be bad, but when you're missing so many players and that amount of depth, it really cripples you. And honestly, a lot of these players, they might not have gotten a shot, but it would have definitely helped having the depth for throughout the season. Even then, you also had players miss multiple weeks with injuries. Ben Ainsworth, I'm pretty sure, missed maybe 7 or 8 weeks. There has just been a lot of inconsistency in the sides, especially from the players who probably need the development the most. If I were to overall give the Gold Coast Suns season a grade, I would give it a 2 out of 10. As with many years with the Gold Coast, it was a year of shocking promise that completely capitulated into abject failure, and them still in the basement after all these years. But with that being said, I honestly believe that in a couple of years they'll get it together. I mean, a lot of people probably didn't see Brisbane coming out firing like they have this year, and it took a couple of years of pain to get them to that stage. Even a number 1 draft pick, which should really go a long way to help. Anyway, if you think I'm totally off about the Suns and think they will be the perennial dumpster fire of the AFL, please leave a comment in the comment section below and let me know where I've gone wrong. If you enjoyed this content and want to see more, please subscribe and click the bell to stay notified of all new content. We have plenty of more season reviews to go, and then we'll get on to some more interesting stuff heading into finals and the off season. If you want to chat footy with any of the guys that work here on AFL Access, please join our Discord server, link in the description, and just chat away with us during the final season and then the off season. This has been your AFL Access.